YouTube and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Follow the leader when the leader.
Oh my God.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Good evening. This is
Avi Bernard.
very happy I am to be back in the United States and back on the network, even for so short a visit as this one. A lot of people asked us to do it again, so it's gratifying to get the chance now. Personally, I've never met anybody who didn't like
KBLA Talk 1580.
but it seems I do have a reputation for the uncanny. I'm an overpaid producer with pleasant reasons to rejoice, and I do. But surely my right to having more than enough is canceled if I don't use that more to help those who have less. We must each day earn what we own. A healthy man owes to the sick all that he can do for them. An educated man owes to the ignorant all that he can do for them. A free man owes to the world's slaves all that he can do for them. If we can't die in behalf of progress, we can live for it. If we waste that gift, we won't have anywhere to hide from the indignation of history.
This is the Friday edition of Areva Martin in Real Time with Avi Bernard.
We did it. We did it, Joe.
The dawn is hours before. We knew it. Somehow we do it.
The cry for racial justice, some 400 years in the making, moves us. The dream of justice for all will be deferred no longer.
Welcome. It is the Friday edition. Avi Bernard here with you every Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific. Let's get you caught up. Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with Israeli leaders this morning at a crucial moment, with the United States pushing for a pause in fighting to allow hostages to be released and humanitarian relief to get into Gaza as a worsening civilian toll fuels mounting concerns. The U.S. military is flying unarmed drone flights over Gaza to help with hostage recovery. Israel continues to bombard the densely populated Palestinian enclave, but is also pushing forward with its ground assault against Hamas. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said his government opposes any temporary ceasefire in Gaza unless Hamas frees all the hostages it holds. Eric Trump testified again today in the $250 million civil fraud trial against the Trump family and their company. His testimony began yesterday, at times becoming heated. New York Attorney General Letitia James's office has argued that Trump's children participated in a scheme to falsely inflate their company's assets to secure more favorable loans and insurance policies. The leader of the Hezbollah militant group has thrown his backing behind Palestinian militants and praised the attacks that killed more than 1,000 Israeli civilians in his first public appearance since the start of the war between Israel and Hamas last month. In a televised speech broadcast on Friday, today, from an unknown location, Hassan Nasrallah praised the martyrs, quote-unquote martyrs, who have died fighting Israeli troops, denied the Hamas attacks had been coordinated by Iran, and said fighters loyal to him were prepared to make unlimited sacrifices in supporting their cause. Al Pacino has agreed to pay his child's mother $30,000 a month in child support. 83-year-old Pacino will also have to pay 29-year-old Noor Al-Fala a sum of $110,000. The two are set to share joint custody of their 4-month-old son, but Al-Fala is set to have primary physical custody. And a white Texas man has been sentenced to life in prison after killing his black neighbor for the grave sin of his kids playing on the sidewalk that both of their homes shared. So this hour, we'll get into those topics with Dr. Sean Fletcher of San Jose State University and Danny Griffin, educator, entrepreneur, and motivational speaker, both friends of the show. Hour 2, it's going to be the Friday group chat. We're going to talk about Suge Knight, his new podcast, and some claims he's making about Deion Sanders and Akon. And also, a couple things that we've been meaning to talk about here. A youth football team season canceled after the coach was shot multiple times, allegedly for not starting one of the players. And at long last, we're going to talk about Stephen A. Smith calling Jason Whitlock a fat, no good bastard. Because who doesn't want to talk about that? Also, we'll likely get to some other scintillating topics in hour number 2. And I'm so glad you're here with us, whether you're listening on the free app, whether you're listening here in LA on 1580 AM, or watching and listening to us on YouTube. When we come forward, the day's top stories right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's the real deal in real time. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580. Environmental justice, pollution, and climate. In Los Angeles and across America, people of color are suffering and dying from disproportionate health impacts on a planet that has less than 10 years to prevent irreversible damage. Heat illnesses, respiratory illnesses, water-related illnesses, food system impacts, insect-related diseases, black maternal health, and mental health effects. As the impacts of climate change mount, millions of vulnerable people, our people, are going to bear the brunt of these extreme environmental events, which will likely lead to forced displacement, loss of cultural identity, and other related risks. These realities are as real as rain. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details about the most progressive multimedia and live events campaign any black media outlet has ever undertaken to combat the climate catastrophe. Experts, events, empowerment. It's all on the way from unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We don't black down. We level up.
Level up, 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 level up.
After a big dinner, my nighttime heartburn would keep me up. I'd be taking antacid after antacid all night long. But then I tried Prilosec OTC. Just 1 pill a day blocks my frequent heartburn for a full 24 hours, giving me one-and-done heartburn relief. Without heartburn keeping me up, I could have a restful night's sleep.
Prilosec OTC. 1 pill a day, 24 hours, 0 heartburn. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
Lowe's knows pros want savings now. That's why, as an MVP's Pro Rewards member, you get volume savings on orders of $1,500 or more at the Pro Desk. And there's more. We've lowered our prices on select top products like electrical wire and drywall, so you can get the job necessities for less. Because Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows pros. In-store only. Exclusions, restrictions, and more terms apply. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
Mom's early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
And when I left the oven on, we decided together that it was time to see a doctor and make a plan.
Early detection gave us more time to seek out information and support as a family.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
The way we spend our time defines who we are. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
Welcome back to the Friday edition. Avi Bernard here with you alongside Danny Griffin, educator, entrepreneur, and motivational speaker. Danny, what's up, man? How are you?
Man, I'm wonderful, man. Thank God it's Friday, man.
Yeah, always good to see you here in person, and always a pleasure to have Dr. Sean Fletcher of San Jose State University on the show. Dr. Fletcher, what's going on?
Avi, Danny, always good to be on. I know I had to cut it short the last time, so I'm excited for these 2 hours.
Yeah, we're grateful to have you on for the full show. It's definitely not the same without you. And this group right here, me and these two guys do have an actual group chat that we engage in throughout the week. So it's always good to have this conversation live on the air. And if you do want to be involved in this conversation, give us a call, 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. Got a lot to talk about, and always want to start off the show with the most serious thing going on, and so that will be the war between Israel and the terrorist organization known as Hamas. And so the thing I want to talk about today is, Secretary of State Antony Blinken, United States Secretary of State, met with Israeli leaders this morning, and he is trying to get them to create a ceasefire between them and Hamas, and they want to do that to allow humanitarian relief to get into Gaza. And Israel, the government of Israel, the prime minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, it's important to state he is a right-wing dude. He's like a Trump type of dude. And so he's someone that I personally don't agree with on anything. I think he's a terrible leader, terrible person. And him leading Israel is not a good thing for Israel, just like I think Trump leading the United States is not a good thing for us. So he has said that he doesn't want to engage in the ceasefire until all the hostages are freed. What do you think of that sentiment there, Dr. Fletcher?
You know what? Well, first off, the entire set of circumstances is tragic. Lives are being lost. Innocent lives are being lost throughout this process. And not just the initial terrorist attack that took place by Hamas, it's continuing to happen. If you're watching the news, if you're trying to pay attention as much as you possibly can, that's first and foremost. But I think we have to fully understand that they're at war, all right? And this eerily feels similar, and I don't want to draw complete parallels, but it eerily feels similar in terms of context of when we invaded Afghanistan after 9/11. And the parallels in terms of who we were looking for and who was caught in the crossfire as a result of it. There were thousands and thousands of people who died as a result of that. And we were going in very similar to Hamas in Palestine and Israel. And trying to understand where the truth lay was very difficult then and is difficult in this situation as well. All right. I have talked with Palestinians. I have talked with Israelis, and trying to understand this and have a clear picture of it is very difficult. Now bring in the political side of it as well, with Blinken and Netanyahu, and trying to parse out where the best interest in terms of advice really is. It's hard for me to really adjudicate what this means when he says they're hesitant to pause humanitarian efforts. I fully understand on one hand, they're fully at war. But also on the other side of it, there are innocent people suffering as a result of this. So I cannot say I'm of split mind from a humanitarian standpoint, but to target your question of Netanyahu's decision, if I'm a political leader, no matter what your leanings are, certainly if I'm looking at the United States and their track record of advice, I'm not so sure that I wouldn't move in the direction that he is, as bad as that sounds, you know? So this is a tough situation to try and unpack from a lot of different angles. But again, people are suffering. My hope is that they will get them the aid that they need.
It is a tough situation. It's probably the most complex situation on Earth, something that people have been trying to figure out for decades unsuccessfully. Many United States presidents have tried to do something about the turmoil in the Middle East and Israel specifically, and no one has been able to do it. It's calmed down for periods of time, and then it has gotten bad again, and that cycle just continues to repeat. And so I'm not sure what the best course of action is. Of course, it just all I know is that I feel terrible for all of the innocent citizens in Gaza who are unable to leave, unable to get aid, and are directly in harm's way. And it's hard to know what to do because, as you said, Dr. Fletcher, I mean, the United States, if someone messes with us, we're gonna go all out to try to rectify that. And I think that's an apt comparison. Like after 9/11, what we did. I think that's a very accurate comparison. There have been less accurate comparisons, I think, that some people make for political reasons, and even Democrats who I am one and I normally agree with. I don't agree with them comparing Israel to Russia because Russia attacked Ukraine unprovoked and just tried to take that country and make it their own, whereas there was a very significant, horrible terrorist attack that ignited this situation. Israeli citizens suffered. So, but Danny, What do you make of this strategy from Benjamin Netanyahu to not allow to not have a ceasefire until all of the hostages have been freed?
I mean, being a leader, he's doing what he feels is best for the people, his constituents, and for the country. So I'm on the outside looking in. And a lot of people say, hey, I don't have a dog in the race and skin in the game, whatever. But, obviously all humans do, because we're watching humanity disappear before our eyes, and the most innocent, right? So we all have skin in the game. If you have a television, or if you receive a text and you can see it, it's really happening. So, my opinion is, it's like, you have to tread lightly, because like you said, Avi, this topic is one of the most sensitive topics in the world right now, and is dividing families. People are losing jobs. People are being threatened. People are getting kicked out of school. People are being watched by government. So you have to be really, really careful. And me as well. And I've been thinking about this every day. But like you said earlier, when we had the 9/11 tragedy hit here, we went back and we did what we did in response. So we have to understand that Israel is doing the same thing, but then we also have to see the humanitarian side of it, where everybody around the world is saying, hey, we got to get the innocent people and the civilians out of here. But if it's not a ceasefire and you're telling me to go south, and then bombs are dropping on my head as I'm going south, that is a problem to a lot of people. And that's why we have diplomacy trying to go on right now, and we're trying to have a ceasefire to get people out, or to get people in safe areas where we won't have continuous loss of life. Now, however that needs to be done, it needs to be done. But at the same time, we do have to respect, we may not understand it, but we also have to respect if there isn't a ceasefire too. Because, I'm not from that part of the world. I don't live there. I have friends that are there. Stanley Brundy played at Crenshaw High School, played in Israel. He's still over there with his family. So I have direct people that's there, and friends, of third persons and stuff. So I don't want to see any loss of life on any side. But I just hope there could be a ceasefire to get civilians out. But right now, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. And it's kind of hard for me to say I'm mad at him, at the president or ambassador, whatever his title is.
Prime Minister.
Prime Minister. But at the same time, I have to have a clear understanding of why he isn't going to do it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. While straddling that fine line without putting too much into it.
It's tough.
It's very tough.
It's tough to even comment on without having somebody get mad at you. As I said, if you want to get involved in the conversation, 800-920-1580 is the number to call, 800-920-1580. We do have Fahima on the line from D.C. Welcome, Fahima. What's on your mind?
Thank you for taking my call, Avi, and greetings to your co-host there and your other guests. A couple of things, and again, I want to condemn the actions of Hamas, because anytime people raise concerns about what's taking place, people contend that you're being anti-Semitic and that you're supporting Hamas. I'm not saying that you are saying that, Avi, but there are people that are saying so.
Yeah.
Now, Now, Netanyahu, that there are people in Israel who do not support him.
Mm-hmm.
And
a lot of people.
And we've had one of the largest protests in New York City, the Grand Central Station earlier this week, Jewish Voices for Peace, and they contended that this situation that is taking place, the bombing and killing of civilians, should not be done in their name. They also go further to say that Gaza is being occupied, and the way they're treating the Palestinian people by cutting off the water and electricity is reprehensible. Now, I don't know people, and I follow you on Twitter, Avi. I'm going to tweet to you, and if you follow me, I'll DM it to you.
Okay.
April, the UN condemned Israel's bombing of a mosque, and that's what precipitated this particular, and I'm not saying that it's right, That's what precipitated this recent situation. Netanyahu and the Israeli forces, they bombed a mosque in April, and the UN condemned it. Now, Hamas was trying to, and I'm not condoning what they did. They were trying to get 6,000 Palestinians, and many of them are youth, who are in detention centers in Israel who are being detained. Netanyahu is not an honest broker, and he is engaged in this activity to bring attention away from the trouble that he was having. There's a lot more that I can say, but I'm not going to get into that. One other thing, and I will also, if you follow me, I'm going to send this to you. Hamas was supported by Israel in an effort to counter the PLO and Yasser Arafat. They funded and supported Hamas back in the 80s and its blowback. This is not propaganda like the misinformation about babies being beheaded. That did not happen. There's a bunch of propaganda that is going on. And lastly, you had mentioned your co-host there, Daniel. There has been an alliance between black people and Palestinian people from the time that Malcolm X wrote an article in the Jerusalem Times, and the relationship between the Black Panther Party and Palestine, and also with the recent conflict contemporarily, because police in this country train in Israel. And during the conflict over Michael Brown's murder in Ferguson with protests, the Palestinian people reached out to the protesters to let them know how to contend with the tear gas and what have you.
Land the plane for me, Fahima.
Okay. Well, there has been a long historic relationship between black people and Palestinian people, and there are black Palestinians, as I'm sure you know, Avi. And if you follow me on Twitter, I will DM the things that I mentioned to you.
Well, thank you for telling me that you follow me on Twitter, because that's a place that I rarely visit anymore, and I appreciate that. But you said a lot of things, Fahima, and I appreciate the call. Thank you for calling us. I would say in terms of babies being beheaded and that being misinformation, I think that's a little bit of I don't think that's as much of a flex as people think it might be to say that they're lying about that, because they were still killing babies. And if you want to say, well, they weren't beheaded, but they were still killed, I mean, it's a horrible thing no matter what. So that's I'm not sure that's a distinction that you really want to make, because yeah, obviously the thought of babies being beheaded is about the most horrible thing you can even imagine or think of. But the fact that those babies were killed, and so is that really a good thing? And this is a terrorist organization who went in and killed people for no reason. So there's no defending anything that Hamas did. And you can take that position like me, and also take the position like me that civilians are in harm's way, and that's a bad thing, and that they shouldn't be killed, and they shouldn't be displaced either. To me, it's not a complicated thing to say that no innocent people should be killed. That's not hard to me. And you want to get into all of the ins and outs of who created Hamas and all that stuff. I mean, that's an interesting topic, and I don't know all the ins and outs of it. But the fact is that whoever created Hamas is its own entity now, and it committed a horrible terrorist attack that started all this. And so, I appreciate the call, Fahima, and if you want to get involved in the conversation, as I said, 800-920-1580. We don't have to agree. You can say what you like. Just try to keep it respectful. All right, so speaking of this conflict, let's talk about Hezbollah. The leader of Hezbollah has made a televised speech today, saying that he praised the attacks. He praised the terrorist attacks on October 7th that killed 1,400 Jews and other nationals from other countries. And so he praised those attacks and called that his fighters martyrs. And so just so people are clear, when you hear free Palestine from the river to the sea, that means no more Israel. That means you take Israel off the map. And so you can be for a two-state two-state solution, but that's not what a two-state solution is. That what they're saying, Hamas's goal has always been to get rid of Israel altogether. And so if you're a Hamas sympathizer, just know that, and just know it's a terrorist organization. So I think it's important to have just some basic info on those things, and you can have that info and still be against Netanyahu and what the Israeli government is doing. It's not that hard. All right, so the leader of Hezbollah has praised the attacks and called his fighters martyrs, and this is really scary because Hezbollah is another militant group, another terrorist group, and if they decide to attack Israel, that would open another front in the war and potentially broaden this conflict to other countries. And so it's I'm not even sure there's a whole lot to say here. We're up against the break, but if you want to take 30-40 seconds, Dr. Fletcher, and comment on the speech that the Hezbollah leader made today, then go for it.
Again, it's a hornet's nest. It's very entangled. Again, it's reminiscent of 2001, 2003, back to back in sequence. Much of the pretense around our invasion of, and again, people to this day still don't want to call it an invasion, but our invasion of Afghanistan and then subsequently Iraq and Saddam Hussein looking for weapons of mass destruction. And we had many different other groups forming alliances in that region with the Taliban and others. This is eerily similar from a vague parallel, in my opinion. And to much of what Fahima was saying, she said a lot of valuable points, but she also somewhat touched on the cautionary note that she mentioned before, in that we do not know, we can't put a date. You can go back to April and the aggression, but this has been going on for decades and decades and decades. So to then arbitrarily pull a point of aggression out to say now everything that ensued after that was in response that leads up to what happened is a bridge to nowhere. I'll just say that. So everything that is happening, again, is unfortunate. As you mentioned, Avi, it is far detailed than any of us can do in an hour or 2 hour sitting to talk about. Certainly my hope is that, people will move forward with positive intention in these conversations. I just met with a professor at a Palestinian university this week. I am meeting with an individual who is the leader of our Jewish Faculty and Staff Association in an effort to know more than I know. Simple as that. And my hope is that others will move forward with that as well.
Exactly. Learning. We all got to learn, and we do got to move forward right now. We literally got to move forward because we got to take this news, traffic, and sports. But when we come forward, we're going to lighten things up a little bit. What in the white privilege, what in the white entitlement is coming your way, in addition to Al Pacino and having a baby with someone who's about 60 years younger than him. We'll get into that when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Areva time is the right time. More of Areva Martin in real time when we come forward.
I'm Tyreek Wynn. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. Civil rights leaders are calling for an investigation into the death of a black man by Mississippi police. Civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump is representing the family of Dexter Wade, who was reportedly struck by a police car in Jackson, Mississippi, and buried without his family's knowledge. NBC News says the 37-year-old Wade was killed on March 5th when he tried to cross a highway and was hit by a police car. The county coroner's office says they tried to reach Wade's mother and couldn't get through. Former North Carolina Tar Heels and Phoenix Suns Walter Davis has died at the age of 69. He died of natural causes while visiting his family in Charlotte, according to UNC. 50 Cent is celebrating joining the Diamond Club. On Wednesday, the rapper announced that his single In the Club has sold over 10 million units. In a post on Instagram, 50 included a video montage of all the times he performed the song over the years since its release in 2003. That's the latest. I'm Tyreek Wynn on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Delays in West LA continue now as an accident is blocking the second lane from the left on the 10 East after the 405. Right now, stop delays are coming from Lincoln Boulevard up to 30 minutes. A crash remains on the right shoulder transition to the 10 West on the 405 North, while heavy traffic continues from Highway 90. Making our way through Anaheim, drive carefully as the center lane is currently blocked with an accident on the 91 East before State College Boulevard, with a backup running heavy from East Street, Raymond Avenue interchange. And late afternoon traffic is up to 25 minutes for those in Irvine's 405 North between Jamboree Road and Brookhurst Street.
JP Morgan Chase is building on the investments in California to help close the racial wealth gap and build a more equitable future. Visit jpmorganchase.com/racial equity and get the tools to help reach your financial goals.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. At Blindster, we offer over 50 different custom window treatments, including faux wood blinds and shutters, all at prices less than retail. Plus, we'll send you free samples before you buy. Don't hire an expensive pro. Do it yourself and save big at Blindster.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Chargers wide receiver Keenan Allen can join an exclusive club if he gets 70 receiving yards Monday night against the Jets in New York. Allen is 70 yards away from reaching 10,000 in his 11-year career. Only 5 other active wide receivers have made it to the 10,000-yard mark. Allen would also join Hall of Fame tight end Antonio Gates as the only Chargers players to have 10,000 yards in receiving. Look for backup Brett Ripien to be the Rams starting quarterback for Sunday's game in Green Bay. Matthew Stafford has not practiced all week because of a sprained ligament in his right thumb. The Lakers start a 4-game road trip tomorrow night at Orlando, 4 p.m. tip-off. Tomorrow night is 7 here on KBLA. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough for Out of Bounds. You can join the conversation at 1-800-920-1580. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Got your black. Follow the leader.
Oh my God.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
In Big Tobacco's Fantasyland, children are the future. Here, tobacco companies are committed to higher education, offering scholarships to students who submit essays about the benefits of vaping. The tobacco industry even sponsors summer camps for kids. Don't worry, the tobacco-sponsored programs have been linked to leaving your kids more interested in smoking. In Big Tobacco's Fantasyland, the world's deadliest industry is your child's friend.
See reality at undo.org.
1 in 4 Americans today are living with a disability. I'm one of them. People with disabilities are extremely talented, resilient problem solvers that have so much to offer. And we've got a trusted ally on our side, an organization we can rely on, Easter Seals. Easter Seals is leading the way to full equity, inclusion, and access to healthcare, employment, and education for people with disabilities, families, and communities. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours.
Learn more and get involved at easterseals.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminding you that we keep us safe. Pro Football Hall of Famer and urban peace pioneer Jim Brown believed in just that. So he founded the Amera I Can Foundation for Social Change in 1988, focusing on at-risk and high-risk youth in underserved schools and juvenile detention facilities, as well as adult incarceration and reentry initiatives. The core of the Amera I Can program is its 15-chapter life skills curriculum. Mastery of these skills allows individuals to meet their academic potential, conform their behavior to acceptable societal standards, and improve the quality of their lives by equipping them with what they need to confidently and successfully contribute to society. Today, the foundation is led by its president, Monique Brown, who has been actively involved in the organization for more than 25 years. The Amera I Can Foundation continues its work in memory of its founder, actor, philanthropist, and NFL legend Jim Brown. To get involved or make a donation, please visit visit AmeriICanCommunity.partners. That's AmeriICanCommunity.partners. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
There's no time like the present. Let's get back to more of Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
Somewhere this thing got crazy. I just been driving Miss Daisy with my hands on the steering wheel and my eyes on the pavement. I give a about where they went. I owe my lawyer a payment. Ain't talking about no arraignment. Now I wonder what the rain went. I just been all in my mind. Homies tell me I'm stressing. I've been counting what's on my bucket list and not on my blessings. I think it's time for a lesson. Hold up, pay attention. I can't end up like my mama, papa, antidepressants. My therapist think I'm crazy. What she probably does. All the stress I'm under, I wonder why I don't do drugs. Raised in a household full of killers and thugs. I've been in doubt so long, don't know who I was, but I know who I am. Yes, I know who I is. Please pardon my grandma Daisy vibing with this. I just been vibing.
It is the Friday edition. Welcome back to Areva Martin in real time. Avi Bernard here with you with Danny Griffin and Dr. Sean Fletcher, good friends of the show. Gentlemen, we have a lot to talk about, and this Trump trial, the Trump civil trial, $250 Trump civil trial in New York. His children have testified this week, and they seem to be in a bit of trouble. Let's just say that. But Andy, I actually want to get into, I actually want to see who's at the door real quick.
It's white.
Okay, so as I mentioned, Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr., the two adult sons of Donald Trump, they have testified this week in court, and they passed the buck and said that, oh, well, a lot of the stuff we didn't even know about, we relied on other people to make those decisions. But the reason why the Trump children, and specifically now Ivanka, are the subject of What in the White Entitlement today is because of the excuse she tried to use to get out of even testifying in the first place. She tried to say that she tried to appeal the judge's decision to make her testify by saying that she would have to go through undue hardship in order to find childcare during the week because of school. Now, this might be a suitable excuse for a normal person who doesn't have hundreds of millions of dollars that they got from their father. But she did get hundreds of millions of dollars from her father, and she is trying to say, no, I can't show up in court because I gotta take care of my kids. Woman, if you don't sit down. So the judge said, you know what? I think you can afford a babysitter. That's what the judge actually said. So Ivanka Trump tried it. She still has to testify. She's going to testify next week. And this whole trial is very significant for Donald Trump because one thing that he cares about even more than power is his money, which I think we all know is a lot less than he has claimed it is. He's probably almost certainly not a billionaire, but he does have a little bit of money, and this $250 million that could be that could be ruled against him, that could be taken from him, is very significant to him. And this would really hurt if he were to lose, and the trial is not going well for them. It would appear as a layperson to me. So, Danny, any thoughts on Ivanka's excuse that she tried to use to get out of going to court next week?
Man, this just adds to the negative rhetoric and discord that goes along with having that last name. No judge is going to believe that. You have all the resources and everything you can in order for you to get to court. She doesn't want to go.
But the fact that she would even try to use that as an excuse, not, oh, I got some business dealings in Europe or whatever. But she tried to say, I can't afford, or this will be an undue hardship. That was the term she used in her appeal. Undue hardship was what she tried to use. Dr. Fletcher, what do we think about that?
Sympathy for the kids.
What do we think about that?
It's a joke. The judge should have given her a WIC or an EBT application and sent her on her way. That's what I would have done, because it's foolish. It's insulting for her to even claim that as a reason. All this time when she and her brothers were out there peddling all of these untruths on the campaign trail, I didn't see her kids under her arm. I didn't see her kids in tow. So where were they then? So now that it's time to pay the piper, now everybody has an excuse as to why they can't. Again, like we talked about before, the walls are closing in on them. And interestingly enough, in a civil case like this, they can't hide. Because I was reading something earlier that in civil cases, and again, I'm no legal expert, but I listen to legal experts, that in a civil case, that pleading the fifth can be used against you by the judge in their decision. So they gotta stand up and give something. And now you're trying to see them scatter like roaches, trying to not have to face the music, to speak on their own accord and not hide behind some sort of legal protections that their lawyers have advised them on. And now we're seeing, when they're left to their own devices, there's very little that's there. And to come up with something like that just lets you know they're at the bottom of the barrel right now. And listening to Don Jr., that was a joke. If you heard any of what he had to say, it became a laughable matter. It was almost like if you all heard Sidney Powell's deposition when she was sitting there drinking that Diet Coke the whole time and was just saying random crazy stuff. Don Jr., during his deposition, because he knew he couldn't plead the fifth without it being held against him, he just started saying random stuff. And they asked him about what was it, GAP, because GAP justifications were used on a lot of their overinflated documents, which is, it stands for generally accepted accounting principles. So they were using it as loopholes and all of that. And they asked him about it, and they said, "Are you familiar with it?" And he was like, "Yeah, it seems like it was something that we took in Business 101 at Wharton Business School." And she said, "Can you tell me a little bit about it?" And he said, "It's been a while, but I do believe that it's basically around things that are generally accepted as accounting principle." And she laughed because that is the actual name that the acronym stands for. He knew nothing about the justification they had been using in order to fudge all these numbers. So the walls are closing in on him, and it's getting comical, quite honestly. And I'm here for it. We've put up with the nonsense for years. I'm here for watching them squirm. I am.
Man, hooray, accountability. When you first said GAP, I was like, Old Navy? Performance fleece?
No,
I got you.
It may have well have been. He knew more about the apparel company than he knew about this accounting practice.
That reminds me of when Trump was not Trump. Excuse me. When Will Smith on Fresh Prince, when he was trying to act like he was Jamaican, and he said, "What'd you say you are?" He said, "Oh, Rastafarian." So where you from? Rastafaria, because you just know nothing about what you're trying to nothing about what you're trying to say. Yeah, that's definitely the Trump sons, and so I'm like you, Dr. Fletcher. I'm 100% here for it all the way. I mean, any accountability for them, especially at this level of financial accountability, and hopefully down the line some criminal accountability as well. When we come forward, we're going to talk about Al Pacino. He has agreed to pay his child's mother $30,000 per month. So he's 83. And I wanted to talk about this because the three of us talked about this on this show a few months back when this child was first born, and whether or not it was appropriate for a man of that age to bring a baby into the world. So we're going to talk about Al Pacino, 83-year-old Al Pacino, and his 29-year-old baby's mother. I'm trying to do some quick math. 83 minus 29, that's like 54. 54 years. So he was 54 years old when she was born. He now has a child with this woman. So we're going to talk about that when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's the real deal in real time. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
Los Angeles, black men are dying from preventable health causes and diseases, but you can be part of the solution. Join us Saturday, November 11th at the Michelle and Barack Obama Sports Complex next to Dorsey High for the African American Male Wellness 5K Walk and Run. Walk for your brother, walk for your father, walk for your son, walk for your uncle, walk for yourself. This is a free, family-friendly event for the entire community. We'll have free health screenings, vendors, kids' activities, and more. We'll see you at 8 a.m.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Turning my pain into purpose is pretty much what I have done to start this foundation.
In August 2020, after the death of George Floyd, Bridget Floyd and other family members established the George Floyd Memorial Foundation in support of the Black community.
It's going to take more than just us as a foundation. It's going to take the community, the world, to make a change.
Fight for racial justice for the Black community. Learn how at lovehasnolabels.com. Brought to you by Love Has No Labels and the Ad Council.
If you're a veteran with a service-connected disability that is directly impacting your ability to work, resources are available to help you find employment. VA's Veteran Readiness and Employment, or VR&E, can assist you with finding a job that uses your existing skills. Or, if you're interested in exploring a new field, a VR&E counselor can help you determine the right education or training options for a new career. Find out if VR&E is right for you by visiting va.gov/VRE today.
The way we spend our time defines who we are. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
And we're back on the Friday edition of Areva Martin in real time. Avi Bernard here with Dr. Sean Fletcher, professor at San Jose State University, and Danny Griffin, educator, entrepreneur, and motivational speaker. Let's talk about Al Pacino. He has agreed to pay his child's mother, Nora Al-Fala, $30,000 a month in child support, according to court documents. Pacino, who is 83 years old, will also have to pay her a sum of $110,000. The two are set to share joint custody of their son, but she is set to have primary physical custody. So this was predictable, to understate it. And we talked about this a few months ago when the child was born, just because of the age discrepancy, Al Pacino being 83 years old. And I think we all agreed that there was at least some level of irresponsibility to have a child at that age if you're not going to be around for much of the child's life at best. And so do y'all think that, obviously we don't know the child's mother, Nora Al-Fala, or I don't think y'all know her, but I don't know her. But do we think, does this seem like a calculated thing to where this is like, this is someone who thought, you know what, this is a very wealthy man and I have an opportunity here to have a child by him and then be taken care of for the rest of my life? Do you think that was calculated, Danny?
I'm not sure. I don't know either one of them, and and really don't care to. I would love to have a conversation with Pacino about his acting career, but other than that, I don't. And, the thing is, Avi, whether it be a man, woman, or vice versa, when somebody's really successful and the other person, is not as successful, people usually stereotype and say, oh, they're off for the money. So I don't want to go into that realm because she's a young lady. And if it was a young man with an older lady that was established, I wouldn't do the same thing because I would equal opportunity. But on the outside looking in, this looks like a setup, right? Not from my perspective because I don't have a perspective on it. I ain't gonna give one either.
I mean, you just kind of did.
But stereotypically, I'm sure people out there that know the story would say it seems like a setup because shortly thereafter the child is born. Now we have this issue that's going to get the young lady compensation, great compensation, by the way. I'm sure it's for the child. But I don't have any say-so in it, but it looks shady on the outside. I'm sure the others, I can't say.
I'm not even saying it because of the success discrepancy. I'm saying it because of the age discrepancy. What would any 29-year-old woman want with an 83-year-old? I'm just saying.
How old is Ron Isley? Because he could see. That's what I'm saying. So that's tough, though.
Man,
yeah, that's tough. And
Ron Isley is a once in a 100-year cool ass person who can probably get away with it.
There's no exceptions, though. If you say it,
no. There are always exceptions.
With Ron Isley, Ron Isley could probably.
Ron Isley got dripped to this day, but that's Ron Isley.
He can take them off from us. He can take them off from all of us right now.
I'm saying
all ages, all races too. I'm sure.
Ron Isley is different. You don't compare Al Pacino to Ron Isley.
I got Pacino's the man. He may not look the man like he used to be the man, but
now.
Still the man.
Dan, you're doing some Pilates over here, bro.
But you understand what I'm saying, right?
No.
It's a lot of 83-year-old dudes probably similar, probably around the world.
All right, Dr. Fletcher, let's get you in here, man. I'm just saying, what would any 29-year-old want with the 83-year-old is all I'm saying.
Yeah, let me get in on this. What would an 83-year-old want with a 29-year-old?
Sex.
And there are some things that, and I get all of that, but as foolish as this sounded when we first talked about this, some months ago, and we said this is not going to end well. Mm-hmm. Okay, whether the judge, so let's do some calculation, and let's just try to take some common sense to high places, as my dad says. Whether the judge forced him to pay this, or the good Lord and Mother Nature forced it, it was coming at some point anyway. Because of this dynamic, all right, they have a child together. Mm-hmm. And the man knows, again, this wasn't some nefarious situation where he woke up and said, oh, my goodness, my seed is missing. And now all of a sudden she comes up pregnant. It takes two to tango, regardless of if we can't wrap our minds around what a 29-year-old would want with an 83-year-old, but we could somehow rationalize why an 83-year-old would want, especially a man, all right, would want a 29-year-old woman. I can't rationalize either side of this because he knew,
of course,
when he did what he did, and he went ahead and did the deed. He knew what was possible. Absolutely. He wasn't 83. So now you look up and you got to pay the piper. I don't see, now you put it in the hands of the law, and the law will say what you have to pay. I don't see nothing wrong. I have yet to read a headline that said she did something nefarious. None of it, if part of it don't make sense, none of it makes sense to me. And if what she did doesn't make sense, what he did engaging in this doesn't make sense to me either. So again, I love Scarface. I love Sense of a Woman. I love Devil's Advocate. He will always be my dude. But in this situation, again, you play stupid games. This is what the judge is going to order, a stupid penalty.
And absolutely. And just to be clear, we talked about this last time. I let him have it too. I was not absolving him of any responsibility because it is 100% his fault too. I'm just saying it just seems when the baby is born and a few months later they separate, it just seems clear that there was motivation involved. Obviously, we know what he wanted, and it was incredibly irresponsible on his part to do. And so both of them got apparently what they wanted, at least for a time, in his case, and maybe what they planned on in her case. I don't know, but the number of $30,000 a month it seems like a lot for some child support, because who in the world needs $30,000 to live by themselves or with a child? I don't know of anyone who needs $30,000 a month, because that is ridiculous. But hey, he brought this on himself by engaging in the act, doing the deed, as you said, Dr. Fletcher. We do have Phyllis on the line from LA. Phyllis, welcome in. You do have about 60 seconds because we're almost out of time in this hour.
Oh, wow. All right, so very briefly, and good evening, Ave, and to your guests as well. So I'm only calling in to lend credence to what Fahima said about there being black, or quote-unquote black Palestinians.
Okay.
However, their true description was Hebrew, and Palestine was formerly Judah, and Jesus himself is considered to be the Lion of Judah. He's the King of Kings, and he descended from the lineage of King David and King Solomon. That's it.
Okay. All right, Phyllis.
So, yeah, so what she said was true.
Okay, Phyllis, thank you very much for the call. And we have dedicated quite a bit of time on the show to going into the history of that nation and that region, and how this disagreement goes back thousands of years to before Jesus Christ was born, and how both of those people, both the Jewish people and the Palestinian people, have thousands of years of ancestry in that region. So it's a very complicated issue. But when we come forward, we're going to talk about things other than 83-year-old impregnating a 29-year-old. Well, I guess he impregnated her about a year ago, so maybe 82-year-old. Okay, whatever. But we're going to talk about Suge Knight and his podcast and some claims he's making. He claims that he once signed the now Colorado football coach Deion Sanders to Death Row Records. And he also claims that Akon has engaged in raping underage girls in a studio. So we're going to talk about that, whether you believe Suge Knight, and we're going to talk about this TikTok food critic who has made a lot of waves with his reviews of black restaurants in Atlanta. Danny, as a restaurateur yourself, I want to get your take on that. And we will also talk about the latest in this Michigan football scandal. It's a lot going on. It's the Friday group chat with two of my favorites, Danny Griffin and Dr. Fletcher, here when we come forward after this news, traffic, and sports update on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Tyreek Wynn. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. The medical examiner who conducted the autopsy on Manuel Ellis, who is black, says he's more than certain than ever that police actions led to his death. Former Pierce County medical examiner Dr. Thomas Clark testified yesterday during the trial against 3 Tacoma, Washington police officers charged with the